The Hollywood Shopping Plaza. It's amazing how much of my life I spent at the Hollywood Shopping Plaza. Now, my one true love will always be the Fort Steuben Mall. You can listen to another video of mine about that. But, the plaza in the 1970s was pretty fantastic. While my mom went into the Kroger store, my dad always waited in the car. I would start out heading for Super X drugstore. I was always looking for Mad Magazine. I was about 9 or 10 years old at the time. If they didn't have that, I'd buy Cracked Magazine or National Lampoon. Super X had this one section, it had like bamboo baskets and African masks. And I'm looking back on it like, why did a drugstore have that? I don't know. So I'd take my Mad Magazine and I'd run it to the car, drop it off, and then run into the Kroger store, pick out a box of cereal, the one with the best toy, of course, and slip it into my mom's buggy. And I would leave her to buy all that weird 70s food like city chickens, breaded pork pieces on wooden skewers, and all that other weird 70s stuff. My next stop would be Mr. Wiggs department store. We had two Mr. Wiggs. There was one out in Wintersville also, but it didn't seem like it had the same oomph to it or something. I would go into Mr. Wiggs and I would start at the record section. There was a new band called Kiss, and I was always looking for their newest record. And I would look at the BB guns and Dream and fishing rods, and they had a lunch counter there. And they mustn't have had any food that stands out. I can't remember a single food item I ever ate there. I know I ate there, but I just can't remember anything that I ate there. But you did feel like an adult getting a Coke and sitting on those little stools that they had. And Mr. Wiggs also had a place called Car Care. It was the automobile section. And my dad did the accounting books on Saturdays at Car Care. And they had a contest. It was a national chain. I entered to win a go-kart, and I can't pronounce his name very well, but the spokesperson for Car Care was Dale Yarborough, something like that. And I won. Out of like thousands and thousands of entries, I won a replica of his racing car. It was a go-kart and had a fiberglass body. It was pretty cool. They had trouble getting it to me, so they offered me $300 instead of the car. And $300 to a 10-year-old back in the 1970s, I mean, that was something. But I turned it down. I wanted the go-kart, and I got it. And the only place I had to drive it was around in the street in front of my house. I live in a cul-de-sac, so I would go round in a circle for a couple hours, bugging the neighbors and everything. But I did get on the cover of the Herald Star and the Wheeling Intelligencer, and I didn't have to rob a liquor store. So I peaked early. I had my 15 minutes fame around 9 or 10 years old. So it was actually kind of fun. I liked it. Next, I would head for D'Angelo's Pizza. Now, D'Angelo's Pizza was probably the first round pizza that I ever had from a pizza shop. I grew up on DiCarlo's Pizza, those nice little squares. And D'Angelo's, unlike DiCarlo's, DiCarlo's always came with pepperoni, as God intended. But D'Angelo's, it was extra. So I always just bought a small cheese pizza every week. And I'd take it to the car, and my dad would eat a slice or so, and I would eat some, and we'd save my mom a slice. But it was really good. They also had a Dairy Queen, but we didn't really eat that much ice cream there. In the 1970s, we were more into roadside stands. Every city had one. This is where they had the freestanding ice cream stand and then a gravel parking lot and a couple picnic benches. It was like a very social thing. So I think I ate the majority of my ice cream from there or at the Fort Steuben Mall. They also had the Hollywood Lanes, bowling. Ugh. Now, we went there a few times. It was okay, but it was a double whammy because you had to pay for bowling, but you also had to rent shoes, and that didn't seem right to us. And also, even as a 10-year-old, wearing other people's shoes was just rather disgusting. And every time we went, it seemed like there were some bowling leagues, and you had to wait for a lane. And once you got the lane, there was always somebody else trying to hurry you along. And as kids, we couldn't bowl worth anything. So it just didn't seem like that was something that we did a lot. But bowling was really popular in the 1970s. They actually had a TV show, Bowling for Dollars. I mean, you think golf is boring on TV. At least golf, they go to different golf courses and such. But every bowling ball you throw, every lane looks the same pretty much, doesn't it? And that's what passed for television in the 1970s. Watching people throw a ball, knocking down some pins, and getting some dollars for it. And this wasn't even like a lot of money. This was just like a few dollars for every pin they knocked down. They had the cinema, really good cinema. I mean, it wasn't an architecture like great thing, not like the Grand Theater downtown, but it was pretty nice. And this was still before HBO and before DVDs and VHS tapes. So if you wanted to see a movie how it was intended to be seen, you had to go to a movie theater. Later, they would remodel it and split it into two screens. And it lost something when it did that. The screen seemed smaller and the partition wasn't that thick. So if there was like a noisy movie next door, you could hear it. And it would kind of interfere with your movie a little bit. So it didn't seem as good to me. But, we were kids. We were desperate to see movies. So beggars can't be choosers. They had Union Bank, which then later turned its name into Unibank, which of course is the worst name ever for a bank. I had my very first bank account there. Sometimes we'd go to the plaza and park for the Big Red Central game. Me and my mother would walk over to it every year. Steubenville tradition. It was fantastic. And then every once in a while, you would pull into the Hollywood Plaza, and over to the far left was the carnival. My heart would leap out of my body. I loved the carnival. The octopus, the scrambler, haunted houses, all that stuff. And you buy the tickets and go on the rides. As soon as I saw it, I would start begging for next week's allowance. I would ask my mom to walk very slowly in the Kroger store because I had some stuff to do at the carnival. They had those games where you threw the darts and squirted water into clowns' mouths, and you won all those little novelty things, which you probably could have bought much cheaper. But still, I won them with skill. And all the food, the cotton candy, sometimes on a paper stick, and sometimes it came in a bag. The salty French fries with vinegars, those wonderful smells, the sausage and onions and peppers cooking and frying up. I loved the carnival. I guess we were lucky the cotter pins never came off and flew one of the rides across the field or anything. But if you were lucky, you got to see the carnival at night. The beautiful colors, the rides swinging up and down and all around. The plaza was pretty great. It was a great life at the Hollywood Shopping Plaza. As always, it's me, Camroy, here on YouTube.